Welcome back. This is the second part of our lesson on rights and responsibilities. And when we ended last time, I was discussing with you all of the ways that your credit score could be influenced negatively. And we also talked about the risk of not being responsible when you have credit and when you're borrowing money. Now, I think that was a terrible place to let off, but unfortunately time was not on my side, so I had to end it there. Today, I want to go through a little bit more about how you don't have to be afraid of credit. You know, we've talked about this lesson. Credit is not a bad thing. It's how we use it that is bad. So today, we're going to go over some strategies that will help you use credit wisely and responsibly. So when I put this slide up on the screen, I pointed out that when you borrow money, you're entering into a contract. And these are all of the consequences if you don't follow through on your contract. But there's more than just that. Let's talk about just a little bit about what a contract is. So in a contract, it's an agreement between two parties. So that means there's two people. Parties are people or agencies. It's an agreement between two people or parties or companies that one person is getting something, one person is receiving something. So the offer is what the lender is agreeing to provide. It's also what they expect in return. So for instance, if you want a cell phone, Verizon Wireless might be willing to offer you your cellular device and all of the data that you need, but in return they expect you to pay money. All right, the offer includes the price and how long the contract will last. So this might not be a contract that you have forever. It might be a 2-year contract. The acceptance means that by signing the contract or when you click I accept, the I accept button online, or if you're using what's offered, you're telling the lender that you know and accept the terms. Okay, and the terms for Verizon would be that you are going to pay them a certain amount of money to use their cell phone and their data. The term consideration, it's the legal term for the object of value each person gives to the other. So usually this is like money or property or services. So this consideration here is the cell service. Consideration would be cell service and the money that you pay. And capacity is one's ability to enter into a contract. If you are found that you're mentally incompetent, so you aren't making wise choices, and this is something that's legal, if you are a minor, so you're not 18 yet, or if you are anyone who is under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you don't have legal capacity. You do not have the ability to enter into a legal contract. But a contract, it's a genuine agreement. That means the offer and acceptance, they're valid, and no one has used fraud or other threats to get you to come into this contract. So they can't say, you have to pay us this much money or else we'll do this to you. No, that's not going to be a genuine agreement. A genuine agreement is that you know what's offered and there's no shady business going on. If you lie on your application, the lender can later say that there was no genuine agreement, and they can ask you to immediately repay the entire amount. So for Verizon, they just might cut off your service. But if you lie on an application for a $5,000 loan and the company finds out about it, they can ask you immediately for that $5,000 back instead of paying it back slowly. A contract is also legal. Obviously, you can't have valid legal contracts that involve breaking the law. Okay, so anytime that you enter into a contract, these are the items that they're going to have included. A lot of the times there are very lengthy pages that tell you all about your contract and what you agree to do and what your provider agrees to do for you. They're very long and they're very wordy, but they want to make sure that each party understands the consequences of not following the contract, as well as the rights and responsibilities if they do follow the contract. So that you can understand a little bit more about the legality of a contract, I want you to turn into your student booklet to page 32. Up at the top, you're going to see the 6 elements that are needed to make a contract binding. And I want you to pause this video right now and read about the 6 elements that are needed to make a contract binding. So now that you have seen what makes a contract binding, I want you to brainstorm examples of contracts, maybe for borrowing money or for other services. You've been exposed to a lot as you become a young adult. You're not sure what I mean? Well, think about it. If you want to have an apartment lease is a contract. A car or a motorcycle loan, you're going to need a contract for that. A mortgage, which is the payment on your house, requires a contract, as well as utilities. And those are your water and electricity, cell phone, your internet and cable bill. Those are all contracts and things that you need to understand what your rights and responsibilities are. It's so important that you understand and accept the responsibility for an agreement before you actually sign it. A long time ago, the only way to accept a contract was to sign your name in ink at the bottom line where they said sign here. But nowadays, with the internet, we have so many contracts that you don't even realize that you are signing. If you've ever seen those I accept tabs at the bottom of a screen, that is saying that you accept the terms and conditions. Even our school, to be able to sign in, there's a school contract. And before you can put your username and password in, you have to press the I accept button that says, I understand and I accept that I'm going to follow the rules for acceptable computer usage. If you've ever been on Facebook and taken one of those quizzes, like which superhero are you? Usually you have to press one of those green I accept and continue as Facebook user. That is a contract. Now, it's not dealing with money so much, but it is dealing with the fact that this company is providing you with a service, letting you know what superhero you are, and you are allowing them sometimes to see your profile information, your profile pictures. So contracts are all around. Next, I want to look at all the responsibilities you have as a borrower when you sign or carry out a credit agreement. So I want you to make sure that if you ever sign a contract that you're really reading the fine print. It's long and it's obnoxious and annoying sometimes, but you really need to understand what you're getting into. Ignorance is no excuse. Just because you say to somebody, oh, I didn't know, that's no excuse, especially if it was in the contract. So you need to make sure that you understand your payment amount, knowing how much you're going to pay for the service that you're getting and when those due dates are. If you are late, that is a penalty against you. Sometimes you could have late fees. So make sure that you know how much you have to pay and when it's due. Some consequences if you are late on payments or you don't make payments. There could be payment penalties. You have to pay extra, or collection costs. If somebody has to come to your door and actually collect the money from you, they would maybe charge you a little bit. You could actually have repossession of property, which means they're going to come and take something from you. If you have a car loan, they could come and take your car back. Make sure that you know any insurance coverage requirements. So if you have a car or an apartment, some apartments want you to make sure that you have insurance on your rental, on your apartment. And they won't cover that. That's kind of like an extra hidden cost that they expect you to pay. Make sure that you know how to notify them about changes to your personal information. If you get married and you change your name if you're a girl, or maybe if you change your address, you need to make sure that you're notifying people who you have contracts with. So if they need to get a hold of you, they know who you are and where you are. And you also need to make sure that you know what to do if you have problems with the arrangement. If you can't pay on time, what do you do? If something goes wrong, who can you contact? Pay attention to that and pay attention to updates. Oftentimes, companies will send out new agreement policies and they're saying, we're updating our policies. Please read this so you know what your rights are and your responsibilities. You can read more about your responsibilities as a borrower on page 32 in your student booklet. At the very bottom, it says Portrait of a Borrower. So you can go ahead and read those bullets. Just read to the end of page 32 and you can pause this. By now I'm sure you've seen that there's a huge responsibility if you ever want to enter into a contract with someone. But it's not just all responsibility of you. You also have rights that lenders must respect. And there are people on your side. So the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they are on your side. They are available if you ever need any assistance, understanding, what your rights are. If you ever need assistance when dealing with credit problems, you can visit these websites and look at their resources to see how they can help you. Not only are these two agencies on your side, but there are also some acts and some laws that have been passed that are also put in place to help the consumers, to help the borrowers, to make sure that their rights are being upheld. Your assignment for the day, and probably the hardest assignment in this entire unit, is to look at your rights and responsibilities. So if you turn into your student notebook to activity 2.9, it says Rights and Responsibilities of Borrowing. The directions say that you are going to look at a credit card agreement or a loan contract or service agreement to find at least 2 rights and 2 responsibilities of the borrower, and the same for the lender, and summarize your findings below. And when you turn the page past activity 2.9, you're going to find a credit card agreement for consumer cards in Capital One. So Capital One is a credit card company, and they have graciously shared their credit card agreement for one of their credit cards. Now, this is a huge agreement. If you look, that first page for the Capital One, the first and second page, is just kind of showing a basic overview. But then if you turn to the Capital One customer agreement, so that's like the third page in this document, this agreement is 6 pages long. That's really, really long. But you are going to be able to, just reading through some of this, even through the first page, you'll be able to find some rights that you have and responsibilities that you have, as well as responsibilities of the lender. So this is probably going to be one of the hardest tasks because it is such a long task. But I have faith that you are going to be able to push through and finish this. It might take you a bit longer than other assignments that you've had, but that's okay. If you've got questions, you can always let your proctor know, and they'll be able to answer any questions that you have. But that is what you're going to do for the rest of this lesson, is read through your rights and responsibilities and go through that Capital One agreement for this assignment.